What's up, everybody? I am the Orca Theory. Welcome back to Dark Souls 3. So, in the last episode, we defeated the Abyss Watchers of the Undead Legion. Our first Souls of Cinder. And I did want to take a look at the items that they give you. They give you the Wolf's Knight Grave Sword, great sword of a knight tainted by the dark of the abyss and master of the wolf's blood of Farron. The Wolf Knight was the first Abyss Watcher, and his sword is more punishing against creations of the Abyss. Kind of handy for where we're going to be headed off soon. And then the Great Sword of the Farron Abyss Watchers themselves. We saw this weapon used by the Abyss Watcher fight. The dagger is utilized as a wedge in the left hand, while the Great Sword is held in the right, a unique technique that was synonymous with the Undead Legion. Confounds foes in the manner of wolves hunting prey, and it has a parry skill, which is actually really neat. It's a really cool kind of dual-wielding sword set. This one is clearly the more obvious one. This is Artorias' sword, a little bit chipped and broken, but it is the same sword from Dark Souls 1, similar moveset. I was really thinking, I'm actually gonna pick up Havel's Ring. I was gonna go for Boulder Heave, but that's a freaking miracle or pyromancer or whatever. I'm never gonna use that in this, so I'm gonna get Havel's Ring.
Treat the fight.
Yeah, I know. The I was thinking about how the Abyss Watchers could have become tainted by the. Oh, what am I doing? Level up.
Very well. Then take no.
I wanna nourish the souls within me. How they could be tainted by the dark, because that's a kind of question that begs to be asked, because you know there are some instances of the abyss near them, but not nearly enough to where you'd say, okay, well, they're being certainly tainted by the abyss. It seems that they were tainted long ago. Do I have? I don't have an undead bone shard. Sick. So let's go to the Abyss Watchers. My theory on that, and this is just pure speculation, is they have a direct connection back to Artorias by using this wolf's blood. We know from the events of Dark Souls 1 that Artorias was tainted by the Abyss. If they were partaking in kind of this weird blood ritual, as I suspect they were, if they were consuming the blood of Artorias, which was tainted by the Abyss, and I'm not even sure how the magic of that would work, other than in kind of a convoluted Dark Souls type way, it could be reasoned out that by consuming Artorias' blood and trying to consume his wolf's blood power, that they would in of themselves become tainted. Maybe it's just a percentage thing, because not all of them are tainted, as you can see by the infighting. But some of them were definitely tainted. Oh, jeez. Came back real quick. This is the Catacombs of Carthus. My least favorite zone, I have to say. Deceptively complicated. It's not really all that complicated. There's only a few paths, a couple hidden things, a few tricks. It's not that great of a zone, honestly, until you get to the end. Whoop. See you later. There are skeletons that will regenerate, and we will see them. The way you know if a skeleton is actually defeated is if you look in the bottom right, you'll see that my soul count goes up when an enemy is truly well dead. That's how you can tell. Do you see there? I got 132 souls. Move on. Couple really interesting enemies down here. The actual Carthus, I don't even want to call them knights. I guess we'll just call them swordsmen. Woohoo! Oh yeah, that hurt. They are really dex-based, and they have a couple rings down here that give them their abilities. You saw that one guy flipping around and being invisible. Sorry, I'm trying to concentrate here. There we go. That's where you are. And they are really interesting to fight. They feel a little bit more like Bloodborne folks than actual Dark Souls people. But they are neat to fight. I love facing off against them one-on-one in another build where I was using dex weapons. Be careful of these traps. Where I was using dex weapons a lot, trying to farm sharp Titanite to reinforce my my dex weapons. Those are the most viable guys to do that, and they were a bitch. They were a bitch to constantly have to go through. I'm trying to remember where, because there is a illusory wall over here, and it was pretty obvious if I remember right. That's the one. We got that guy down there. Let's take him out. We're going to be talking a little bit about Carthus. You're going to do that. Give you this big old slap. Big old slap from Zwei. Got the kukri. So, with Carthus, you know, we faced off against the Abyss Watchers who were directly trying to confront the Abyss and the effects of the Abyss. There's a good shop gem in case I need it. The Catacombs of Carthus are plagued by the Abyss. High King Wolnir, who's going to be our main antagonist here, he was consumed by the Abyss, and he had certain safeguards to keep himself from falling too low. In what is one of the most like cool boss fights in the entire series, if you ask me. But a lot of this area has been tainted by the Abyss and tainted by Wolnir's interaction with it. And so we're going to be talking a little bit about what that means for not only this area, but the overall lore. Because the Abyss really, if we count Dark Souls 1 and Dark Souls 2 in this, is the big antagonist. It's the one thing that has constantly been at odds with our player character. And we just got a Pyromancy Tome, the Carthus Pyromancy Tome. Pyromancy Tome from Carthus, containing pyromancies crafted for battle. So these guys were using battle pyromancies, essentially. Give to the old master, blah, blah, blah. Carthus pyromancy developed in isolation from other forms, explaining their divergent evolution. So as opposed to the Great Swamp pyromancies, which kind of did their own thing and then traveled off, these Carthus ones developed independently. You want to be real careful of these pitfalls. They are abound. So we can give this to our good pyromancy friend, if we choose. I'm not going to be investing in pyromancies at all for this run of the game. We came from there. I get a little lost in here sometimes. It's not super complicated, but that one ladder, for whatever reason, just kind of throws me off. We are actually coming at this from the back way. These guys have really cool Murakuma swords. You just want to be careful of that attack. Get a large shard. It's a good place to farm large shards if you need them. At this point in the game, you really should have a +6 weapon. The game does a really decent job of giving you ample opportunities to level up your weapons as you go through zones. At this point, I would say +6 is almost mandatory. And this leads back up to the room we came from. Let's explore down here a little bit. Titanite shards. And these are their hints. They're telling you, like, okay, like, if you are not at least +3, you should probably do that. You should probably at least be there. But I would even argue that +6 is almost mandatory for this area, and especially the upcoming area in Irithyll. And here we have the real big game changer. And one of the goofiest. Run. Don't bother fighting these guys. Ain't worth it, because this train is a coming. We'll have to wait for him to come back. I hate that stupid ball. Oh, everybody's dying. Sick. So we're gonna get a good look at this ball as it's come down. It's a ball of skeletons pulling itself along. And it will constantly go back and forth until you kill a specific enemy. And these enemies are clearly marked by the hats. Look for the hats. And unfortunately, these guys don't stay permanently dead. The hat wearers will respawn on a bonfire. And you see there? Apparently it was a magic user and he couldn't keep it stable anymore. We get an undead bone shard. There's your bonfire on the other side. You cannot open it. As far as I know, there's no way to repair this, so you just have to keep trudging until you get there. So this is where we start to see the Abyss in full effect. A lot of these jars will be filled with what is essentially humanity. And these guys will toss out these weird abyss-looking shard things. Woo! Gotta get out of there. I'm out of stamina. Out of stamina. Oh, come on. It looks a lot like, oh, I forget the name of it from Dark Souls 1. The homing soul mass. That was the Abyss form. Alright. And he'll come back. Thank God. Oh, jeez. I'm not reading my range right today. Whoop. This freaking caster. Oh, did I not kill you? Great. It's not really a problem. They're super slow moving. They can just be obnoxious. Where you really want to pay attention is these pots, because these pots do contain them as well. Oh, jeez. Playing super sloppy. It's been a while. It has been a long while. Alright. And this is where we have to pay attention. Throwing knives will help clear a path. They're not perfect. And incredibly inaccurate. Yeah, see, there we go. But rolling will have that happen to you, at least if you can get some of these pots out of the way beforehand. Damn it. Better off just rolling. I think I might just do that. Ah, shit. Want to be careful of the traps. Woo! That was a rough one. There are a number of traps you can see here. There's a pressure plate right there. We got the Carthus milk ring, which is one of the rings I was talking about. I'm not actually going to put it on, but it slightly boosts dexterity and obscures rolling. So that rolling effect that the big Carthus swordsmen were doing makes them invisible when they roll. This is that ring. It also boosts dexterity, I think by at least 2 points. Ring worn by warriors of the Sand Kingdom, Carthus, slightly boosts dexterity and obscures the wearer while rolling. The sword technique of Carthus allows for fluid movement with a curved sword. Masters of the technique are said to dazzle their opponents by moving as weightlessly as a grain of sand. They live for their High Lord Wolnir, conqueror of most kingdoms known to their people. So, I wish there was more lore about Wolnir. There isn't a ton outside of he was a big badass who conquered all the kingdoms around him and then fell to the abyss, and that's the extent of his lore. Because I think what he is supposed to be is a paradigm of... Oh, shit. He is supposed to be a paradigm of our character from Dark Souls 2. A lot of the main bosses here in Dark Souls 3, they are direct references to either events or characters from the previous Souls games. And I'm including, actually, Demon's Souls in that. With the Abyss Watchers, it is directly equivalent to the reverence for Artorias of the Abyss. Before the DLC for Artorias of the Abyss even came out, everybody was talking about how big a badass Artorias actually was for taking on the Abyss like he did. Because that was all the information that we had, was that he actually took on the Abyss and then fell to it heroically, when that was the furthest thing from the case. He actually fell to the Abyss and then impeded our progress, while we, the hero, did his job for him. So I think, you know, the Abyss Watchers is a direct riff on that idea, that these guys were total coolio badasses, but they had their own problems, and I think we see that in game. I believe High Lord Wolnir is a direct reference to Dark Souls 2 and the player character there, where you are essentially just conquering everything, whether it be... Oh, shit. There we get for talking. Oh, I better hit that bonfire soon. It's coming up. Whoa. get out of here. That's a dangerous zone. Nice. And so what I mean by that is not just the events of Dark Souls 2, but the Dark Souls 2 DLC, where you go to these various kingdoms and you basically just reconquer it in the name of the chosen one. And I think High Lord Wolnir is a riff on that, where you know you're constantly being pulled at by the abyss, no matter which kingdom you go to. If you're in Drangleic itself, or if you're in one of the sunken kingdoms or whatever, you are constantly being followed by the abyss and people who are descendants of Manus, the prohibitor of the abyss. So I think that's what Wolnir is a direct reference to. With Irithyll and Aldritch, I believe that's actually the chosen undead from Dark Souls 1. The imagery there of just, I want to be super huge and absorb the power of the gods. That just seems so much like what happens during the events of DS1, where so many players, and you know, I include myself here, like, you can just wreck everything in that game for good or ill. Like, even optional bosses, of which there are many, you can absolutely stomp them out. And I think Aldritch is maybe not the chosen undead in actuality, but certainly a reference to that, this kind of gluttonous fever to absorb the power of the gods. And we will certainly get back into that in a little bit. What I want to do right now is I actually want to take a break from this game, practice up a little bit, because even just kind of looking at my footage from this episode, it's like, oh boy, I ain't doing so hot. So I'm gonna actually practice a little bit in just that little stretch of Carthus, just to get myself back up to speed, because I wasn't doing so great. And I will see you all in the next episode, okay? Alright, bye-bye.